The Valari were not fighters. They had never been fighters. For 10,000 years, their civilization grew in peace. They built beautiful cities made of crystal and light. They wrote poetry and made music. They healed the sick and studied the stars. War was something they only read about in old books. When the Drakari horde came, the Valari had no weapons. They had no soldiers. They had nothing but hope, and even that was dying fast. The Drakari were monsters. There was no other word for them. They stood 8 feet tall, with thick black armor covering their bodies. Their eyes were red like fire, and their claws could cut through metal like paper. They traveled from world to world, taking everything and killing everyone. No one had ever stopped them. No one had ever tried. Ambassador Lyra watched from the observation deck of the Galactic Council station as her homeworld burned. Valara, the beautiful blue and green planet where she was born, was now covered in smoke and fire. Millions of her people were dying, and she could do nothing but watch. She had begged the council for help. She had fallen to her knees before the representatives of 100 different species. She had cried and pleaded and promised anything they wanted. They had said no. The Drakari are too powerful, Councilor Torin of the Nexari had explained. His voice was calm, like he was discussing the weather instead of genocide. If we intervene, they will attack our worlds next. We cannot risk it, so you will let my people die? Lyra had asked. We are sorry, Torin had replied. He did not look sorry at all that Lyra had left the council chamber with no hope left in her heart. She walked through the empty halls of the station, past species who looked away when they saw her coming. Nobody wanted to help. Nobody cared. Then she remembered something. A rumor she had heard years ago about a young species called humans. They had only joined the galactic community 200 years ago. Most of the older species avoided them. They said humans were dangerous and unpredictable. They said humans loved to fight. Lyra had never met a human. But she had nothing left to lose. She found a communication terminal and searched for any human ship in range. There was one, a massive warship called the Indomitable. She sent a message. Admiral Sunwoo Park was sleeping when the signal came through. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had served in the human fleet for 40 years, and he had seen many things. But he had never seen anything like the message that appeared on his screen. A silver-skinned alien woman was crying. Behind her, through a window, he could see a planet on fire. Please, the alien woman said. Her voice was shaking so badly that the translator almost could not understand her. My name is Lyra. I am from the planet Valara. The Drakari horde is killing my people. We have no army. We have no weapons. The Galactic Council will not help us. She paused and wiped tears from her large, dark eyes. I do not know if you will help us either. I have heard that humans are cruel and violent, but I have also heard that humans are brave. I am begging you, please. They are killing our children. You are our last hope. The message ended. Sunwoo sat in silence for a long moment. He looked at the coordinates that came with the message. Valara was 40,000 light-years away. It was far beyond human territory, in a part of space that humans had never visited. There was no reason to go there. No benefit for Earth. No resources to gain. Nothing but death and danger. He pressed a button on his desk. Get me Commander Han at Earth Command. Priority 1. Within minutes, the face of Fleet Commander Jisoo Han appeared on his screen. She was younger than Sunwoo, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. She had led the human fleet through 3 major conflicts and had never lost. Admiral Park, she said. It is 3 in the morning on Earth. This better be important. I just received a distress call from a species called the Valari, Sunwoo said. The Drakari horde is attacking their homeworld. I am requesting full Armada deployment. Jizu stared at him. Full deployment? Admiral, that is every ship we have. Every carrier. Every destroyer. Every fighter squadron. You want to send everything for a species we have never met? Yes. Do you understand what you are asking? If we send the entire fleet, Earth will be undefended. Our colonies will be vulnerable. If anyone attacks us while the fleet is gone, we will have nothing. Sun Wu nodded slowly. I understand, Commander. Then why? Why risk everything for strangers? Sun Wu thought about the alien woman in the message. He thought about her tears. He thought about her words. They are killing our children. Because they asked for help, he said. That is enough. Jisoo was quiet for a long time. Sun Wu could see her thinking, weighing the risks, considering the politics. She was a practical woman. She dealt in facts and numbers, not emotions. But she was also human. Deployment authorized, she said finally. Her voice was soft but strong. Every ship we have. Make it count, Admiral. Thank you, Commander. Do not thank me yet. Just bring them home safe. She paused. And Sunwoo? Give those monsters hell. She ended the call. Sunwoo stood up from his desk and walked to the bridge of the Indomitable. His crew was already waiting for him. They had heard everything. Sir? Lieutenant Yuna Choi asked. She was the tactical officer, a young woman with a brilliant mind and steady hands. Are we really doing this? Sunwoo looked at his crew. These men and women had families back on Earth. They had homes and friends and dreams. He was asking them to risk everything for people they had never met. The Valari are dying, he said. They have no one else. No one in the whole galaxy will help them. Except us. He walked to the center of the bridge and pressed the ship-wide communication button. Attention all hands. This is Admiral Park. In 6 hours, we are jumping to a planet called Valara. The Drakari horde is attacking it. The people there have no weapons. They have no army. They are going to die unless someone helps them. He paused and took a deep breath. I am not ordering you to fight. This is not our war. These are not our people. But they asked for help. And I believe that is what makes us human. We answer when people call. So I am asking you, as your admiral, as a fellow human being, will you fight with me? The response came immediately. From every deck, from every station, the crew of the Indomitable answered with a single word. Yes. Within hours, the signal had spread across human space. Ship after ship answered the call. Captains who had never met each other formed a fleet. Soldiers who had never seen Valara volunteered to die for a dot by the time the fleet was ready. 847 warships had gathered. The entire human armada. Every weapon humanity had. Admiral Sunwoo looked at the fleet on his view screen. He felt proud. He felt scared. He felt something else too, something he could not name. All ships, he said, jumped to Valara, and the stars stretched into lines as 847 ships vanished into hyperspace, racing toward a world they had never seen, to save people they had never met, because someone had asked for help, and that was enough. News traveled fast in the galaxy. Within hours, every species with access to communication networks knew what the humans were doing. And nobody could believe it. On the Galactic Council Station, representatives from 100 species gathered in the main observation hall. Giant holographic screens showed the human fleet moving through hyperspace. Red dots on a star map, getting closer and closer to Valara. Councillor Torin of the Nexari watched with his mouth open. His green skin had turned pale, and his four hands were shaking. This is impossible, he said. They are actually going. They sent everything they have. Elder Vela of the Korath stood beside him. She was very old, older than anyone could remember. Her body was small and bent, but her eyes were sharp and wise. "Perhaps we never understood them," she said quietly. "Perhaps we never tried." "Understood what?" Torin asked. "That they are insane? They have left their homeworld undefended. Earth has no protection now. Any enemy could attack them while the fleet is gone. And yet they went anyway," Vela replied. "What does that tell you about them?" Torin had no answer. Across the station, species that had never agreed on anything now agreed on one thing. Humans were either the bravest creatures in the universe, or the most foolish dot in the Nexari embassy. Generals studied the human fleet composition. They counted every ship, every weapon, every soldier. "If we attacked Earth now," one general whispered, "we could take it easily. All their power is gone." The Nexari ambassador looked at him with cold eyes. "And then what? When the humans return, do you think they will forgive us? Do you think they will forget?" The general fell silent. Nobody attacked Earth. Meanwhile, the human fleet traveled through hyperspace. The journey would take 12 hours. Admiral Sunwoo used that time to learn everything he could about the enemy. Lieutenant Yuna Choi stood at the tactical station, her fingers moving across holographic displays. She had spent her entire career studying alien threats, but she had never studied the Drakari. Nobody had. The Drakari did not negotiate. They did not trade. They did not talk. They only killed. "Sir, I have compiled all available information on the Drakari horde," she reported. "It is not good." "Tell me," Sunwoo said. "The Drakari have approximately 2,500 ships in orbit around Valara. Their vessels are larger than ours and heavily armored. Their weapons are plasma-based, capable of melting through standard hull plating in seconds." Captain Doyim Lee was listening from his ship, the Soul's Pride, connected by communication link. He was a big man with a loud voice and an even louder laugh. "Only 2,500? That is 3-to-1 odds against us. I have fought with worse." "Captain Lee, this is serious," Yuna said. "I am serious," Doyim replied. 3-to-1 means each of us only needs to kill 3 of them. That is easy. Now tell me how we hurt them." Yuna almost smiled. Captain Lee was crazy, but his courage was real. "Their armor is strong, but it has gaps near the engine sections. Concentrated fire on those areas could cause critical damage. Also, the Drakari fight as individuals. They do not coordinate well. If we stay in formation and work together, we have an advantage." "Good," Sunwoo said. "What about ground forces?" "There are approximately 100,000 Drakari soldiers on the surface of Valara. They are hunting civilians. The Valari population is 800 million, concentrated in 12 major cities. 3 cities have already fallen." Sunwoo felt a cold anger building in his chest. "Fallen? You mean destroyed?" "Yes, sir. The Drakari do not take prisoners." Silence filled the bridge. Everyone was thinking the same thing. Millions of innocent people slaughtered like animals. Children killed in their homes. Families burned alive. Commander Min-jae Kang spoke from the fighter bay. He was the leader of the fighter squadrons, a pilot so skilled that people called him Ghost. He never missed a target. He never ran from a fight. "Admiral, my pilots are ready. All 200 of us. Just give us a target, and we will tear them apart." "You will get your chance, Commander," Sunwoo said. "Everyone will." 8 hours into the journey, something unexpected happened. Ambassador Lyra's face appeared on the communication screen. "Admiral Park?" Her voice was filled with disbelief. "You came? You actually came?" Sunwoo nodded. "We are on our way. We will arrive in 4 hours." Lyra started crying. "I did not think anyone would help." The council said no. Everyone said no. Why did you say yes? Sun Wu thought about the question. Why did they say yes? Why were 847 ships and 200,000 soldiers racing towards certain death for strangers? Because we are human, he said finally. And this is what humans do. Lyra wiped her tears. I do not understand. My people have studied your species. You fight wars. You destroy your own planet. You kill each other for resources. Why would you die for us? Sun Wu smiled sadly. You are right. We have done terrible things to each other. But we have also done beautiful things. We have given our lives for strangers. We have built hospitals and schools and shelters. We have crossed oceans to save one child. He leaned forward, looking directly into the camera. We are not good, Ambassador. Not completely. But we are not evil either. We are complicated. We make mistakes. But when someone asks for help, really asks, something inside us answers. Lyra was quiet for a moment. Then she said, there is a human word I have learned. Hero. Is that what you are? No, Sun Wu said. Heroes are perfect. We are just people. But sometimes, people are enough. 4 hours later, the fleet dropped out of hyperspace. Valara appeared on their screens. It was a beautiful planet, blue and green like Earth, but black smoke covered half of it. Fires burned across the continents, and around the planet like a swarm of insects. 2,500 Drakari warships waited. Lieutenant Yuna Choi announced the count. 2,547 enemy vessels, sir. They have detected us. They are turning to engage. The Drakari had never seen a human ship before. They did not know what the strange metal vessels were. But they understood one thing. These new creatures had come to fight. The Drakari warlord, Crix, watched from his flagship. He was the largest of his kind, covered in scars from 100 victories. No species had ever challenged him. No army had ever stood against the Horde. What are these things? He demanded. Unknown warlord, his subordinate answered. They appeared from hyperspace. Approximately 850 vessels. Only 850? Crix laughed, a terrible sound like grinding rocks. Destroy them. Then finish burning the planet. On the Indomitable, Admiral Sun Wu watched the Drakari fleet spread out to attack. Behind them, Valara was dying. Every minute that passed, more innocent people were killed. He opened a channel to the entire fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Park. I know you are afraid. I am afraid too. But down there on that planet, 800 million people are waiting for us. They have no army. They have no weapons. They only have us. He paused. Today, we are not fighting for Earth. We are not fighting for territory or power or money. We are fighting because it is right. We are fighting because someone asked for help, and we answered. He stood up straight and spoke the words that would echo across the galaxy for centuries. All hands, battle stations. May fortune favor the bold. The human fleet moved forward in perfect formation. 847 ships against 2,500. It was madness. It was suicide. It was exactly what humans did. Captain Do-Yun Lee laughed over the communication channel. Finally, a real fight. Commander Min-Jae Kang guided his fighter out of the launch bay. All wings form up on me. Let us show these monsters what humans can do. Lieutenant Yuna Choi's voice was calm and steady. Admiral, they are in range. Sun Wu gave the order that would change galactic history forever. All ships, open fire. And the battle began. Space lit up with fire. 847 human ships opened fire at the same moment. Missiles streaked through the darkness like falling stars. Energy beams cut through the void, painting lines of light across the black. The first wave of weapons hit the Drakari fleet like a hammer. Drakari ships exploded. Their thick armor, which had protected them against every enemy they had ever faced, cracked and burned under the human assault. Dozens of enemy vessels were destroyed in the first 10 seconds, but the Drukhari were not weak. They recovered quickly and fired back. Plasma bolts slammed into the human ships. The destroyer Thunder's Fist took a direct hit and broke apart. The frigate Starbound lost its engines and drifted helplessly. The carrier Morning Star burned from bow to stern. Admiral Sunwoo gripped the arms of his chair as the Indomitable shook from a nearby explosion. Status report. Lieutenant Yuna Choi read from her screen. We have lost 12 ships in the first exchange. 37 damaged. But we destroyed 61 Drukhari vessels. Keep pushing, Sunwoo ordered. All ships maintain formation and keep firing. In the fighter squadrons, Commander Min-jae Kang led his pilots into the heart of the enemy fleet. His fighter was small and fast, weaving between plasma bolts that would have destroyed larger ships. Behind him, 199 other pilots followed his every move. Ghost, we have fighters incoming, Lieutenant Hana Shin reported. She was young, only 25, but she flew like she had been born in a cockpit. Min-jae saw them. Drukhari fighters, ugly and brutal, with weapons mounted on every surface. They outnumbered his squadron 5-1. All wings, break and engage, he ordered. Show them what we can do. The fighter battle was chaos. Human ships twisted and turned, faster and more agile than anything the Drukhari had seen. Min-jae destroyed his first enemy in seconds, then his second, then his third. His hands moved without thinking. His eyes saw everything. Ghost, you have 2 on your tail, Hana shouted. Min-jae did not panic. He pulled his ship into a tight spiral, leading the enemy fighters in a crazy dance through the debris of destroyed vessels. At the last moment, he reversed direction. The Drukhari pilots, unable to react fast enough, flew straight into the wreckage. They exploded. That is 5, Min-jae said. Keep fighting. But even as he spoke, he saw human fighters dying. Good pilots, brave pilots, disappearing in flashes of light. Each death was a punch to his heart. He knew these people. He had trained with them. Some of them were his friends. Ghost, Lieutenant Kwan is down. Someone screamed. Focus, Min-jae said, his voice hard. More on later. Fight now. Below the battle in space, another fight was happening. 20 human troop transports punched through the atmosphere of Valara. Carrying 50,000 soldiers to the surface. Major Tai Wu Seo stood at the front of his transport, watching the ground approach. He was the commander of the 77th Marine Division, 5,000 soldiers who had trained for exactly this kind of mission. Drop into a war zone. Find the civilians. Get them out. 30 seconds to landing, the pilot announced. Taiwu looked at his soldiers. They were young, most of them. Kids from Earth, from Mars, from the colony worlds. They had families waiting for them at home. Listen up, he said. Our mission is simple. Find survivors. Protect them. Kill anything that tries to stop us. The transport shook as enemy fire hit its shields. The Drukhari are monsters, Taiwu continued. They kill children. They burn cities. They show no mercy. He loaded his rifle with a satisfying click. We are going to show them what happens when they face humans. The transport doors opened. They had landed in the center of a burning city. Smoke filled the air. Buildings were collapsing. Screams echoed from every direction. And Drukhari soldiers were everywhere. Taiwu was the first one out. He saw a Drukhari raise its weapon toward a group of cowering Valari civilians. He did not hesitate. He fired 3 shots. The Drukhari's head exploded. Spread out. Taiwu ordered. Find survivors, move. Sergeant Yoonji Park led her squad down a narrow street. She was small but fierce, with quick eyes and faster reflexes. Behind her, 8 soldiers followed closely. They heard crying from a collapsed building. Yoonji held up her hand, and the squad stopped. "Cover me," she said. She climbed into the ruins. Inside, she found 7 Valari children huddled in the corner. They were crying and covered in dust. The oldest looked about 12. The youngest was barely more than a baby. "It is okay," Yoonji said softly. "I am here to help." The children did not understand her language, but they understood her voice. One by one, they stopped crying. The oldest child took Yoonji's hand. "Sergeant, we have Drakari incoming." One of her soldiers shouted. Eung looked at the children. She looked at the collapsed walls around her. There was no way to fight while protecting them. "I am going to carry you out," she told the children, hoping they could understand. "Hold on to me. Do not let go." She picked up the 2 smallest children. The others grabbed her armor, her legs, anything they could reach. Then she started moving. Outside, her squad was fighting desperately. Tokari soldiers poured down the street, their claws gleaming in the firelight. Human rifles cracked again and again. "Cover the sergeant," someone yelled. Yoonji ran. Plasma bolts flew past her. One hit her shoulder armor, burning through the outer layer, but not reaching her skin. She did not slow down. She could feel the children holding on to her, their small fingers gripping tight. "Almost there," she shouted. "Keep moving." A Drakari soldier stepped into her path. 8 feet tall, red eyes glowing with hatred. Claws raced to strike. Yoonji did not stop running. She shot it in the face, stepped over its falling body, and kept going. Back in space, the battle was reaching its peak. Both fleets were bleeding. Destroyed ships drifted in clouds of debris. Fires burned in the vacuum. Aboard the Indomitable, warning alarms were screaming. "Hull breach on decks 7 through 12. An officer reported. "We have lost 30% of our weapons." Admiral Sunwoo did not flinch. "Reroute power from non-essential systems. Keep the main guns firing." "Sir, if we take another direct hit, the ship could—" "I know," Sunwoo said quietly. "Keep firing." On the Soul's Pride, Captain Do-hyun Lee was laughing. His ship was covered in scorch marks. 3 of his guns were destroyed. A piece of Drakari ship was sticking out of his hull, and he was having the time of his life. "Is that all you have?" He shouted at the enemy fleet. "My grandmother hits harder than that." His crew, despite everything, laughed with him. "Captain, we have enemy ships trying to flank us," his tactical officer reported. "Then shoot them," Do-hyun said. "Shoot everything that is not human." The Soul's Pride turned its remaining guns toward the flanking ships and opened fire. 2 Drakari vessels exploded. The others retreated. In his fighter, Min Jae Kang was running out of ammunition. He had destroyed 17 enemy ships, more than any other pilot. His shields were gone. His left engine was smoking. Blood was running down his face from a cut on his forehead. "Ghost is it!" Hannah screamed over the com. "I am still flying," Min Jae growled. "I will sleep when they are dead." He found one more enemy fighter and chased it through the debris. His last missile hit it perfectly. 18 kills. Then his right engine failed. His ship started spinning. "Ghost is going down." Hannah shouted. Min Jae fought with the controls. "Not yet," he said through gritted teeth. "Not yet." He managed to stabilize his ship and limped toward the nearest carrier. But his fight was over. As he was pulled into the landing bay, he could only watch as the battle continued without him. On the surface of Valara, Sergeant Yoonji finally reached the evacuation zone. She had carried the 7 children through 2 kilometers of burning streets, fighting Drakari the entire way. Her armor was black with burns. Her rifle was out of ammunition. She had used her knife for the last two enemies, but the children were safe. A medic ran toward her. "Sergeant, are you okay?" Yoonji looked down at the children. They were still holding on to her, even now. "Get them on a transport," she said. "Get them off this planet. What about you?" Yoonji picked up a rifle from a fallen soldier. "I am going back. There are more people out there." She turned and walked back into the fire. That was what humans did. The battle had lasted 12 hours. Both sides were bleeding. Ships drifted dead in space. Bodies floated in the void. Fire and debris spread across thousands of kilometers. But something was happening that the Drukhari had never experienced before. They were losing. Aboard the Drukhari flagship, Warlord Krix watched his fleet die and could not understand why. His people were stronger. His ships were bigger. His numbers were greater. And yet these small, fragile creatures refused to fall. "Warlord, we have lost 1,400 ships," his subordinate reported. The creature's voice was shaking. "The humans have lost only 180. Krix slammed his clawed fist into the wall, leaving deep gouges in the metal. "Impossible. They are nothing. They are weak. They fight together, Warlord. They protect each other. When one ship is damaged, others move to shield it. When one falls, 10 more take its place." "That is not fighting," Krix growled. "That is foolishness, weakness. It is winning, Warlord." Krix roared with rage. He had conquered 100 worlds. He had destroyed species that had existed for millions of years. He would not lose to these creatures that had only been among the stars for 2 centuries. "All ships, attack the largest human vessel," he ordered. "Kill their leader. The rest will scatter." 200 Drukhari ships turned toward the Indomitable. Admiral Sunwoo saw them coming. His ship was already damaged. Half his weapons were destroyed. His shields were failing. And now, an entire fleet was heading straight for him. "Sir, they are targeting us specifically," Lieutenant Yuna Choi reported. Her voice was calm, but her hands were shaking. "We cannot survive that many ships." "Then we make them pay for every shot," Sunwoo said. "All weapons, concentrate fire on the lead ships. Slow them down." The Indomitable's guns roared. Drukhari ships exploded, but more kept coming. The enemy was desperate now, willing to sacrifice anything to kill the human leader. Then Captain Do Hyun Lee's voice came over the communication channel. "Admiral, I have an idea. A crazy idea. I am listening, Captain. Their flagship is the key. That is where their warlord is. If we destroy it, the rest will fall apart. They do not know how to fight without a leader. And how do you suggest we destroy it?" Sunwoo asked. "It is the largest ship they have. I am going to ram it." Silence on the channel. Then Lieutenant Yuna spoke. "Captain, that is suicide." "No," Dayun said, and Sunwoo could hear the smile in his voice. "That is victory. My ship is badly damaged. Most of my weapons are gone. But I still have engines, and I still have torpedoes. If I get close enough, I can launch everything we have directly into their reactor core." "You will die," Sunwoo said quietly. "Maybe, maybe not. But if I do not try, we all die anyway." Doyun paused. "Admiral, let me do this. Let the soul's pride earn its name." Sunwoo closed his eyes. He thought about Do-Yoon's family back on Earth. He thought about the crew of the Soul's Pride, 800 souls who would follow their captain into death. But he also thought about Valara, about the millions of people still waiting to be saved, about the children that Yoonji had carried through the fire. "Do it," he said. "And Do-Yoon? Make it count. Always, Admiral. Soul's Pride, all hands. This is your captain." Today, we become legends. The Soul's Pride broke formation and accelerated toward the Drukhari flagship. Enemy ships tried to stop it, but Doan's crew fought like demons. They destroyed every ship that got close. They took hit after hit and kept moving. On the bridge, Doheen watched the flagship grow larger on his screen. It was massive, 10 times the size of his ship, bristling with weapons, surrounded by escorts. Engineering, how are we doing? Chief Engineer Woojen Beek's voice was strained. Sir, the reactor is critical. If we push any harder, it will breach. Will it breach in the next 5 minutes? Probably not. Then keep pushing. The Soul's Pride was hit again and again. Fires broke out on every deck. Crew members died at their stations. But nobody ran. Nobody surrendered. 1 minute to target. Lieutenant Yuna reported from the Indomitable, watching from a distance. Da-Yoon's tactical officer looked at him. Captain, we are in range. Not yet. A little closer. Captain, if we get any closer, we will not be able to escape. Da-Yoon smiled. Who said anything about escaping? All hands, prepare to launch torpedoes. Full spread. The Soul's Pride was so close now that Crix could see it through his viewport. A single human ship, broken and burning, coming straight at him. Destroy it. He screamed. Kill them. His guns fired, but it was too late. Now, Do-Hyun said that the Soul's Pride launched every torpedo it had. 40 missiles streaked across the gap between the two ships, heading straight for the Drakari flagship's reactor section. At the same moment, Do-Hyun pulled his ship into a desperate turn, trying to escape the blast. The torpedoes hit. The Drakari flagship's reactor exploded. The blast was so massive that it destroyed 20 nearby Drakari ships. A wave of fire and energy spread across space, turning the darkness into light. The Soul's Pride was caught in the edge of the explosion. Its hull cracked. Its engines failed. It began to spin wildly, but it survived. Captain Lee, respond. Admiral Sunwoo shouted into the communication channel. Static. Then, still here, Admiral. Barely. We need a tow. Sunwoo laughed. He actually laughed. You crazy bastard. You actually did it. On the Galactic Council station, the watching species gasped. The Drakari flagship, the symbol of their unstoppable power, was gone. And the human ship that destroyed it was still there, broken but alive. Impossible, Counselor Torin whispered. Elder Vila smiled. Not impossible, human. The death of Warlord Crix shattered the Drakari fleet. Without their leader, they did not know what to do. Some ships tried to retreat. Others attacked blindly. Many simply stopped moving, their crews frozen with confusion. Admiral Sunwoo gave one final order. All ships, press the attack. Do not let them escape. End this. The human fleet moved forward like a wave. They surrounded the confused Drakari ships and destroyed them one by one. Some Drakari tried to surrender, but they did not know how. They had never surrendered before. They did not have a word for it in their language. The battle lasted 2 more hours. When it ended, the Drakari horde was finished. Over 2,100 of their ships were destroyed or captured. The survivors fled into deep space, scattered and broken. They would never threaten anyone again. On the surface of Valara, the remaining Drakari soldiers knew they were defeated. Some tried to fight to the death. The humans killed them quickly. Others dropped their weapons and stood still, waiting for execution. Major Taiwu walked up to a group of surrendering Drakari. They towered over him, but their eyes were empty. They had lost their purpose. What do we do with them? One of his soldiers asked. Taiwu thought about it. These monsters had killed millions. They had burned cities and murdered children. They deserved death, but he was not like them. Take them prisoner, he said. They will face justice. Real justice. Not revenge. His soldiers nodded. That was the human Wei Dot in a hospital ship above Valara. Commander Minjae Kang lay in a bed, covered in bandages. His right arm was broken. His ribs were cracked. But he was alive. Lieutenant Hannah sat beside him. She had survived too, though her fighter was completely destroyed. "We won," she said. "Can you believe it?" Minjae looked at the ceiling. He thought about the pilots who did not survive. 53 of his people were dead. Good pilots. Good friends. At what cost? He asked quietly. "A high cost," Hannah admitted. "But we saved millions of lives. Millions of children will grow up because of what we did." Minjae closed his eyes. She was right. The cost was terrible, but the alternative was worse. If they had not come, everyone on Valara would be dead. "Yeah," he said finally. "Yeah, it was worth it." Aboard the Indomitable, Admiral Sunwoo received the final reports. 203 human ships were lost. 12,000 soldiers and crew members were dead. Thousands more were wounded, but they had won. He looked out the viewport at Valara. The fires were dying down. Rescue ships were landing. Valari survivors were being pulled from the rubble. Lieutenant Yuna stood beside him. "Sir, Ambassador Lyra is requesting to speak with you." "Put her through." Lyra's face appeared on the screen. She was crying, but this time the tears were different. These were tears of joy. "Admiral Park," she said, "I do not have words. You saved us. You saved everyone." Sunwoo shook his head. "We did what anyone should have done. We just happened to be the ones who actually did it." "No," Lyra said firmly. "Not anyone. Not the Council. Fulintuo. Not any other species. Only you. Only humans." She took a deep breath. "I called you because I had no hope. I thought you would say no like everyone else. But you came. You fought. You died for us. And we would do it again," Sunwoo said. "Because that is who we are." Lyra smiled through her tears. "Yes, I think I am beginning to understand. Humans are not what we thought. You are something else entirely. What are we?" Lyra thought for a moment. Then she said, "You are the ones who answer." Sunwoo nodded slowly. He liked that "the ones who answer." It had a nice ring to it. The sun rose over Valara for the first time in days without smoke blocking its light. The sky was clear and blue. The air was slowly becoming clean again. And across the planet, survivors emerged from their hiding places to see a world that was broken but not destroyed. Admiral Sunwoo Park walked through the ruins of the capital city. Buildings that once reached toward the sky were now piles of rubble. Streets were filled with debris, but everywhere he looked, he saw life. Valari survivors helping each other. Human soldiers carrying the wounded. Medical teams treating anyone who needed help. Ambassador Lyra walked beside him. Her silver skin was dusty, and her eyes were tired, but there was hope in her face. 12 million of my people died, she said quietly. 12 million. That is a number I cannot understand. I am sorry, Sunwoo said. We should have come sooner. Sooner? Admiral, you came from across the galaxy. You left your own world undefended. You sacrificed 12,000 of your own people for strangers. Lyra shook her head. Do not apologize for not doing more. What you did was more than anyone else would ever do. They stopped in a small plaza that had somehow survived to battle. In the center stood a fountain that was no longer working. Valari children were playing in the empty basin, laughing and chasing each other. Sunwoo watched them. Those children will grow up now. They will have lives and families. They will build new cities and write new songs. Because of you, Lyra said. Because of everyone who came. Because of every soldier who fought. Because of every pilot who flew into those guns. because of people like Sergeant Unji Park, who carried children through fire, and Captain Do Yoon Lee, who rammed his ship into an enemy flagship. Sungwoo's voice was heavy with emotion. I gave the order, but they paid the price. Lyra put a hand on his arm. It was a strange feeling, touching an alien for the first time, but also familiar, comforting. Why? She asked. The question she had asked before. The question that still did not make sense to her. I have studied your species. You are not peaceful. You fight among yourselves. You have destroyed parts of your own world. Why would you die for us? Sunwoo thought about the question for a long time. He looked at the children playing. He looked at the sky. He looked at the ruins of a city that had almost been wiped from existence. Because you asked, he said finally. That is the simple answer. You asked for help. You had nowhere else to turn. And something inside us, something deep inside every human, cannot ignore that. He sat down on the edge of the fountain. Lyra sat beside him. On Earth, we have a history of terrible things. Wars, slavery, genocide. We have hurt each other in ways that still leave scars. But we have also done beautiful things. We have built hospitals in war zones. We have sent ships across oceans to rescue strangers. We have given our lives for people we have never met. He looked at Lyra. We are not good people, Ambassador. Not completely. We are complicated. We are messy. We do terrible things sometimes. But we also have this need, this drive to help, to save, to protect. When someone cries out for help, we cannot just walk away. Even if it costs you everything? Especially then. Sunwoo smiled sadly. Maybe that is stupid. Maybe it is foolish. But it is who we are. It is who we have always been. On the Galactic Council station, the representatives were still trying to understand what had happened. For 3 days, they had watched the humans fight and die for a species they had never met. They had seen the entire human armada deploy for no strategic benefit. They had witnessed sacrifices that made no logical sense. Councillor Torrens stood before the assembly. For once, he had no easy words. The humans have done something that defies explanation. They risked everything for nothing. They gained no territory. They received no payment. They simply came because the Valari asked. Is that not what we should have done? Elder Vila asked. The chamber was silent. We told ourselves we could not intervene because the Drakari were too strong, Vela continued. But the humans were weaker than us, and they went anyway. We told ourselves we could not risk our own worlds. But the humans left Earth undefended, and they went anyway. She looked around the room at the faces of 100 species. We were not afraid of the Drakari. We were afraid of sacrifice. We were afraid of cost. We were not willing to pay the price that the humans paid. And now? Torin asked. What do we do now? Vela stood up, her old bones creaking. We learn. We become better. And we stop pretending that we are superior to a species that just taught us what courage really means. 2 weeks later, the human fleet prepared to leave Valara. The ships that could still fly were loaded with wounded. The ships that could not were being towed by others. It was a battered, damaged fleet, but it was a fleet that had one. Sergeant Yoonji Park stood on the surface, waiting for the last transport. She had stayed on Valara for the entire 2 weeks, helping with rescue operations. Her armor was beyond repair. Her body was covered in bandages. She had not slept more than a few hours at a time, but she was smiling. A small group of Valari children ran toward her. She recognized them immediately. The 7 children she had carried through fire. Yoonji! The oldest child shouted. She had learned the human's name and refused to stop using it. Unji knelt down as the children surrounded her. They hugged her, their small arms wrapping around her legs and waist. I have to go now, Yunji said. Her translator turned her words into Valari. My home is very far away. The oldest child looked up at her with big, dark eyes. Will you come back? Yunji felt tears forming in her eyes. She had not cried during the entire battle. She had not cried when her friends died. But this question, from this child, broke something inside her. I do not know, she said honestly. But I will try. And no matter what, I will remember you. Always. The child reached into her pocket and pulled out a small crystal. It was Valari, a piece of their art, hand-carved and beautiful despite its size. For you, the child said. So you do not forget. Yunji took the crystal. It was cool in her hand, and light seemed to dance inside it. I will never forget, she said. Never. She hugged the children one more time. Then she walked to the transport and did not look back. She was afraid that if she did, she would never leave. The human fleet gathered in orbit around Valara for the last time. 644 ships out of the original 847. The missing 203 would never return. Admiral Sunwoo addressed the fleet one final time. We came here to answer a call for help. We came here because someone needed us. We lost friends. We lost family. We paid a price that we will feel for the rest of our lives. His voice grew stronger. But we saved 800 million people. Children who will grow up. Parents who will watch them grow. A species that will remember what we did forever. He paused. I am proud of every single one of you. What we did here will echo across the galaxy. It will change how others see us. And maybe, just maybe, it will change how they see themselves. The fleet jumped to hyperspace. Valara disappeared behind them. And the long journey home began. 1 year later, the Valari built a memorial on the spot where the capital city had stood. It was a towering statue, made of the same crystal that the Valari used for their greatest art. It showed a human soldier, her armor scorched and damaged, carrying a child in her arms. Her face was turned toward the stars. The inscription at the base read, "They came when no one else would." Every year, on the anniversary of the battle, Valari from across the planet gathered at the memorial. They lit candles. They said prayers. They told their children stories about the humans who had saved them, and across the galaxy, everything changed. 17 species formally requested alliance with Earth. Trade agreements were signed. Embassies were opened. The species that had once avoided humans now sought them out, not because humans were the strongest, not because humans were the smartest, but because humans were the ones who answered. On Earth, a new holiday was created, Valara Day. On that day, humans remembered those who had died for strangers. They told stories of sacrifice and courage. They reminded each other why they fought not for power, not for glory, not for territory, for people. Admiral Sunwoo Park retired 2 years after the battle. He spent his remaining years writing letters to the families of those who had died. Over 12,000 letters, each one personal. Each one filled with love and gratitude. Captain Do-Hyung Lee was given command of a new ship. The soul's pride too. He never stopped laughing, never stopped fighting, never stopped believing that one ship could change the universe. Commander Min Jae Kang returned to flying after 6 months of recovery. He trained a new generation of pilots and told them the same thing every time. We do not fight because we want to win. We fight because someone needs us. Sergeant Yunji Park kept the crystal that the child had given her. She wore it around her neck until the day she died. And when she was very old, she told her grandchildren stories about a planet called Valara, and 7 children who had taught her what courage really meant. And somewhere, in the great darkness between stars, the story spread. A story about a young species called humans. A species that was violent and unpredictable. A species that fought among themselves and made terrible mistakes, but also a species that would cross a galaxy to save strangers. A species that would give everything for nothing. A species that answered when someone called for help. That was humanity's gift to the universe.